Hello and welcome back to Business Scout. Today we're going to be talking about the trends within the secondary sector. So let's head straight in. So when you're looking at the secondary sector, you're going to come across a few things. One of the main things being, it's an important sector. I wouldn't. Basically, the tertiary sector, which I was discussing in another video, it's one of those things where you can go. Some things are more of the kind of thing that they require jobs because of modern day, like a lawyer, or a solicitor, or accountant, or retail employee, or anything like that. Like all of those things, they're required, and they are, but they're required because of the society we have built. So basically what I'm saying is, if you just have a general community, if you go back thousands of years, you'd hope that there wouldn't be a lawyer anyway, or a solicitor. You'd hope that, basically the society wouldn't have reached a point where, I wouldn't really say reach a point, because you could argue it's not really progressing so much as it is just changing. So basically there are some things that they're important in today's society, but in other societies they're not necessarily as important. But the secondary sector is one of those very important ones, because the secondary sector is the one that actually gets the jobs done. Obviously the primary sector, you could argue, is the most important, because they're the ones that are actually going to get you're going to get your food. You want that the bread. Well, you want to eat that bread. Well, you kind of need to get the person working in the primary sector to grow that bread and bring it to you. And of course, that if you're going to get processed bread, well, then the person in the secondary sector is going to have to get all the grain that the primary sector fella got you, and then make bread out of it, and put all those things in it, and all the other things you have there. And that's the kind of thing you see there, where because the secondary sector is basically dependent on what customers are buying, and also there's all these other things where, because secondary sector is dependent on the primary sector takes a hit, so does the secondary sector, and then the secondary sector can take a hit when the primary sector doesn't, and there's all these things involved here. So the primary sector, while it can be very badly damaged, the secondary sector is very easily damaged, and there are a couple of things behind that. Back in the day when you had COVID-19, you had meat factories, they had to close, and obviously that means that, obviously the primary sector, that means they can't sell their meat, but for the secondary sector, that means they're closed, and you can't exactly work from home when you're processing meat. And you also have the issue of, having the problem of you just need to you need to look at the demand for these products. I've said it means that, yeah, sure, if you look at employment, manufacturing creates a lot of employment in countries. Obviously that means there'll be less welfare payments need to be paid out, and there's more money being spread about the place, and it's very good. But the problem is that, of course, you've got two avenue approach. You've got the avenue approach where people or the manufacturers, just like the company or the person or whatever, because it just goes, yeah, well, I can replace you with a machine. And then that means that you lose that job. But you don't lose that job as you would to another person. Because if you lose that job to another person, it doesn't really matter. That's unfortunate. But to the economy, same difference really to the economy. The government, someone's paying tax, someone's not paying, someone's going to be paying tax. Either way, the job. In fact, a lot of the time, you'll see this with people where people come in and they might not have as many qualifications, and people are like, you're stealing our jobs. It's like, no, actually, they're actually being paid less. So, you take that pay cut, I'm sure you'll also get the job there. And that's the unfortunate thing you have there, where, a lot of the time in the modern day, it's like, well, yeah, the business is always going to take the cheaper option. And it used to be the case that really that was the only way you'd have that would be, slavery was a big thing. And also people who might not have the opportunity to say, well, I have this many years of experience. If you don't have that, but if you're skilled at a job, but you don't have the ability to say, I have this many years of experience, this is my previous employer, all these sort of things, which is especially a thing when, people are fleeing from a country, then obviously that was the thing where you could just cut the cost there and you could just pay them dirt cheap. And of course, if you didn't have a minimum wage, you could pay them, actually, close to nothing, if not slavery. But of course, in modern day, it's become more machinery that have been the things to replace it, because now machine is going to be like, well, no, that's not a person taking a job. That's actually a machine. Of course, if a machine does it, that's a problem, because, see, unlike a person who will be obviously spending the money they've earned, a machine doesn't earn any money and doesn't spend any of the money anyway. So you just got this funneling in there where, the only thing that money is being spent on when it comes to it is really just the raw materials and, the actual, machine to keep it working. And that's a problem, because it means that you could have a massive increase in employment, but if that is also coming along with a massive increase in automation, then what happens is people just go, oh look, there's a massive increase in demand. And instead of going, okay, let's hire more people, they go, let's buy more machines. And obviously this is becoming a very big thing, because in modern day there's things such as 3D printed housing, whereby you just don't really need humans. It's like, you just need someone to really supervise, and even that can be done elsewhere and doesn't need to really be a qualified person. You could get me and you could go, oh yes, you just supervise the site, and what, as this machine fully 3D prints out a house, and there you go, they've already got a house, and that kind of thing you have there, where that manufacturer is able to charge then that person, and it pretty much takes very little labor in comparison, at least. That's going to get there. And there's also all these sort of problems where you have the issue of people just saying, I'm gonna head off. There are higher labor costs in here. You've got countries that may not be able to have a higher standard of living, and some countries you might lose jobs to those countries, because it's like, well, yeah, if you want someone to produce that good, well, the business is always going to choose the person who's the cheapest, and that, unfortunately, that means that they're gonna go to other countries. And of course the problem will be, of course, that's a sign that other countries are not in the best shape, so businesses are just going to take advantage of them. But you have this issue of the problem of competition as well, because when you look at competition have the benefit of being able to have more money if they're wealthier. They're able to make things cheaper, not cheap though, and in some cases that just means they're getting a higher profit rate, and that means obviously they're able to reinvest more, and all those sort of things here. And oftentimes you have better infrastructure. There's all these issues here where you have this problem also of basically the benefit of choice means that if you have one product which is sustainably made, organic, everything like that, animals weren't treated in a bad way, it's like, okay, that'll be €10. And then someone else says, okay, you could also choose this thing that's made in a country that has no minimum wage, so we pay the workers dirt cheap. We're taking a fairly low amount of profit on it. Still a big amount of profit, but fairly low amount of profit. It's it's not sustainably made. We just put a bunch of chemicals in it to make it last longer and make it grow bigger. The raw ingredients were just sprayed with fertilizer and stuff that's really bad for the environment. We made it with oil. And all this sort of stuff. Then obviously, then they go, okay, this will be 2. People are gonna go, okay, I'm gonna choose the 2 one then. And that's the thing you have there, where people begin to shop around, and what that means is that products can often suffer that are made in a nicer way oftentimes, and that can harm industries that for people. And you've all this sort of problem here where you also look at things like economic fluctuations, and these are all connected with the whole of the industry, which is recession boom. Like, how would it be? Like, let's say you have recession boom. These videos should be free. I hope that this will be always free, and that's the thing. You know, you don't want to say to someone, oh, you have to pay for this. And obviously that's the thing. You come into here in the recession, you listen to this, hopefully it'll be free. It's boom, hopefully it'll be free. That kind of thing like that. Basically here, hopefully you'll never get affected. The ability to view based on economic problems. That's their thing there. Hopefully that'll be the case. But for the secondary sector, all those products are made and they're fairly expensive a lot of the time. Whether you're talking about like maybe not individually expensive, but they're very expensive as an industry wide thing. Like construction, you're not going to buy a house in a boom, because you buy a house in a boom, you're looking at hundreds of thousands. But by the time a bust comes around, you have no money, and banks won't lend you any money. So there's all this kind of thing here where boom bust, people buy more and buy less. There's all these kind of problems here where you have the issue of that will obviously greatly affect a business. And obviously if it's a big business, sometimes it's able to survive. Sometimes it's fine for the big business, and it's like, we have no damage coming from this. But if you're a smaller business, no. If you're a smaller business, you're greatly affected by boom and bust, well, that can really, and a lot of businesses have suffered this, it's awful, which is bankruptcy due to economic, fluctuations. And that means that, it's entirely down to external factors. It's not like, oh yes, when you shouldn't have done that kind of thing, where people can often be very judgy about businesses that goes down, but a lot of the time businesses that goes down, it's not really their fault, because there are many trends, as is discussed in this entire thing, which none of them actually have anything to do with you in the kind of you sense of things. Competition. You can't drop your prices to competition, because your competition's costs are lower than yours by far, meaning you'd have to sell way below what it costs you to, just meet their prices. And that's the whole problem there with competition. You've got situations where you've got, people just not buying your product. Well, that's, what are you supposed to do there? People aren't going to buy the product. That's the problem. And there's all these kind of issues here with the secondary sector. And in fairness, the secondary sector just get harmed a good bit. And of course, that when I say that, I mean like harmed economically and harmed in their actual ability to do things. But there's also, of course, the tertiary sector. This is the sector where you have your things like your lawyers, you've got your things like your solicitors, you've got your things like your retail workers, you've got all these sort of things here where people are giving you service, really. And at the end of the day, that's what we're going to talk about next time. Please understand how you can build other videos, you can also love teachers on there, absolutely perfection. If you don't know the other videos, but now and in the future, this is Spider Heaven, and I hope you will enjoy the rest of your existence.